What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Breaking news. We've talked a little bit about justice when it comes to news outlets, media outlets, all spinning whatever narrative they want. I know a lot of it's been tied to what happened with Charlie Kirk. That's going to be in this video, but it really is good to see that finally, some good is coming out of the tragedy that has happened, as accountability is now coming in full force. I hope the same thing comes in Canada with the media outlets that are stretching what happened to Charlie Kirk in order to push a narrative when it comes to the woke mob or the alphabet mafia. But breaking news coming out, and it's something we do have to talk about. Jimmy Kimmel's getting fired. Jimmy Kimmel is out the door. It's basically been said that the FCC, and we're going to talk about it in an article, stick with me. The FCC has said that Jimmy Kimmel's latest offensive comments about Charlie Kirk's shooter being linked to MAGA and Trump handling the death of Charlie Kirk like a kid with a dead goldfish. Again, I'm only using basic terms here. Don't quote me verbatim. Is essentially needed to be walked back. And the walking back has to happen via firing. He must be removed, or the FCC is going to pull ABC's license. We're going to get straight into it. I want to show you these tweets coming out because Jimmy Kimmel's trending right now on Twitter. It's blown up. Everybody's calling for him to go. You've got Ian here saying, I'm calling on ABC News to fire Jimmy Kimmel for lying to his audience, blaming MAGA. He also has never been funny. I agree with that statement. Jimmy Kimmel is a POS. Do you agree? Absolutely. Jimmy Kimmel is a piece of shit liar. The next post. Jimmy Kimmel crying about gun violence versus Jimmy Kimmel making jokes about Charlie Kirk being assassinated. There can be no unity. Again, quoting J.D. Vance. Who else wants to see Jimmy Kimmel's show get canceled? Another Elon Musk. Jimmy Kimmel is disgusting. 8 hours ago. Jimmy Kimmel lied to his audience by claiming Charlie Kirk's assassin is MAGA. Here we go. This is the actual quote for anybody who's missed what happened. Let's take a listen. Just, again, for verbatim's sake, let's take a listen.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Okay, so disgusting comments that were made, again, in light of what happened. And Trump obviously just deflecting. Anybody who knows how politicians deflect, he just doesn't want to talk about it anymore. They're obviously working hard. They're making sure that justice is carried out with his killer. But you have Benny Johnson here spilling the tea few hours ago, breaking the FCC chairman is threatening immediate action against Jimmy Kimmel, ABC, and Disney, who owns ABC, for deliberately misleading the public by claiming Charlie Kirk's assassin was a MAGA conservative. Chairman Brendan Carr says Kimmel's malicious lies are truly sick and says they should result in Kimmel's immediate suspension and may lead to ABC losing its broadcast license. This is huge. Chairman Carr confirms the agency has a strong case to hold Kimmel, ABC, and Disney accountable for spreading dangerous, politically motivated misinformation. This is a very, very serious issue right now for Disney. We can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. Big, real tough words. These companies can find ways to take action on Kimmel, or there is going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. Again, meaning stripping a license. They have a license granted to us granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with an obligation to operate in the public interest. There are calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. The FCC could make a strong argument that this is sort of an international effort to mislead the American people about a very core fundamental fact, a very important matter. Now, the reason I say he's getting fired, while they're calling for a suspension, the backlash from this is irreparable. If you think that Disney or ABC would keep Jimmy Kimmel after this, they would not. If they have to suspend him, they would fire him. Their ratings are already in the toilet. There was already rumor going around that Kimmel was going to be ousted, just similar to how Stephen Colbert was recently shut down. Late night shows just aren't operating at the capacity they used to, mainly because their woke hosts have catapulted political rhetoric that's very biased into their shows. So now you see them saying, well, it could be a suspension. If he gets suspended, he's getting fired. They're just going to say, we're canceling Jimmy Kimmel. He goes on to say, though, Disney needs to see some change here. But the individual licensed stations that are taking their content, it's time for them to step up and say this. You know, the garbage, to the extent that's what comes down the pipe in the future, isn't something that we think serves the needs of our local communities. But this sort of status quo is obviously not acceptable where we are. Again, Benny Johnson covering it extraordinarily today. This really paints a huge picture, not just for Jimmy Kimmel, but it also paints a massive picture about accountability. It really shows you where we're headed, that while what happened to Charlie Kirk was absolutely devastating, this is maybe a turning point, no pun intended, for America and hopefully for countries like Canada, where the news media has essentially just put out whatever they want based on their feelings. They're not actually reporting fact. I've been calling on multiple videos for people to send clips of articles, clips of videos to their local representatives in their government, to send them to local stations to question, is this the accountability that we want from our media? Is this how our media should behave? And again, not just with Charlie Kirk, but is this how it should behave in general while it has a vendetta against certain political figures? You're not allowed to report the news based on your feelings, based on your bias, based on who you get your funding from. If you're reporting the news, you have an obligation to report the truth. And I can say right now that it is so refreshing to see the FCC stand up and say, you either do something about this or we're going to go down a tough road you don't want to go down. We saw what happened with Ron DeSantis and Disney in Florida. They weren't happy with the pushback. If the FCC really wants to step in and do something with ABC and Disney, that could spell big problems for them, especially at a time when they're bleeding billions of dollars into woke DEI propaganda that's costing them everything that they have in their stock portfolio. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think down below. Do you agree with the FCC? Do you think this is long overdue? Do you want to see more outlets held accountable? And do you think this is going to be a warning shot to other outlets like MSNBC, you name it, the New York Post, other outlets that have padded the news for so long alongside ABC, CBS, to push a narrative to maybe change? I should have included CNN in that one. All of them. They'll all have to change at this point or run the risk of pushback from the FCC by the looks of it. Let me know your thoughts down below. If it's your first time here, I sure hope this video earned your subscription. Make sure as you hit that button, you click a thumbs up and a bell with a comment for all notifications so that you never miss anything. It also helps push our video out into the algorithm to tell people, hey, you need to hear about this. Jimmy's getting the axe. Join me live tonight, as well as Friday nights here on the channel every week. Unhinged Fringe on Wednesdays, Friday Night Fringe on Fridays, where we talk about everything going on in the political atmosphere, everything that we know that's coming up ahead, as well as Q&A and discussions within the greatest YouTube community on this platform. I look forward to chatting with you guys outside of making these videos. I most importantly look forward to chatting with you tonight and every Friday night here on the channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, live. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you a better day. And with that said, I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.